Good evening. My name is Geoff Cape, and I'm the CEO at Evergreen. And I've had the privilege of being involved with Evergreen for 25 years. And so my point of view around entrepreneurship extends really through the amazing experience I've had to be involved with a platform, an organization that effectively is a platform for innovation for others and for me. The work at Evergreen revolves around one big idea, and it's really about the future of our cities and how we think about our cities. The original goal of the organization 25 years ago was about integrating nature into the design of cities and really transforming the experience of our cities, how we engage in behaviors and enjoy the surroundings of the way the city experience plays out for us. The phenomena that's in play right now around cities, though, is breathtaking. The current population globally is that roughly half of the world's population lives in cities, 3.5 billion people of the roughly 7 billion on the planet. Over the next 50 years, there's an expectation that that's going to double, that we'll see roughly 7 billion people living in cities in 50 years. That will be a transformational moment. It is one that's in play right now. It has impacts on every imaginable situation, whether it's climate change, the tensions, political tensions, economic disparities, et cetera. So the way we manage cities over the next 50 years will be a life or death decision in the way we make lots of little decisions, a life or death game, I suppose, or a very serious challenge for all of us. The way we make sense out of it here in Canada is what we can control. Canada's 86% of Canadians live in cities. We're one of the most urbanized countries in the world, and by some definitions, we make the best cities in the world. And so I see us with an opportunity to be global leaders in this particular space. When Evergreen began, our work was looking at the way urban sprawl defined the landscape in cities. On a more micro level, it was really about the way children's school grounds were being designed. They really were not engaging in diverse landscapes. There was no integration of nature in these spaces, and they were not creative in any particular way. So our early projects were really about animating these spaces, integrating nature into them, bringing creativity, creating spaces for children to interact and build and create and innovate in a unique way in every single school. There's 16,000 schools in Canada, and we see the opportunity for every single one of them to be fundamentally different in the way they're designed, but to engage students, engage children in the actual design process. In the process, creating innovation, building an innovation culture in Canada through children and their participation in the design of the space around them. What emerged for us, though, as we developed these relationships with schools across Canada was working relationship with cities, working relationship with different levels of government, working relationship with corporations, academics, and others. And we built this network of partnerships across the country that begins to feed into this role that Evergreen was emerging for ourselves, was building for ourselves as a convener and a broker and a facilitator of change in cities. Beginning with schools, beginning with school children, but building from that platform into larger landscapes. Many of you might know of our work down at the Brick Works, Evergreen Brick Works. It's been an enormous success in the way that it's transformed an old factory into a space that now is really about big, bold ideas for cities. It began as something very traditional in the way that a factory produces brick and builds cities through the digging earth out of the ground and literally producing buildings from it. We understood that historical relationship with city building was an opportunity for new ideas, and keeping the gritty fabric of that old building was important for how it might set up the platform for new ideas for cities. And in the valley, this amazingly unique oasis has emerged where many people come to the landscape in the valley, come to the farmers market, come to the kids' camps, and learn about themselves, learn about the city of Toronto, and learn about a variety of ideas from across Canada and around the world. The bold new steps that we're taking as an organization right now is to really recognize that this landscape, this site we have, is more than just about our focus on ecology, our historical work. What we really want to dive into, and what we have been pushing hard on for the last 3 to 4 years, has been a bolder strategy focused on the breadth of urban issues, urban infrastructure issues, climate change issues, and the idea of changing the way we think about how we build cities in the future. Is if we continue to build cities for the next 50 years the way we have for the last 50 years, we'll be in a very, very difficult spot. So as we moved into this space and changing our organization's mission and mandate and really evolving our role as innovators, we moved quickly into a new subject area. We moved into mobility. We hosted a large-scale session and series of sessions over the course of about a year and a half, bringing the city and the region together around mobility and transportation issues, pushing for change around mobility, transit, and the way we manage our infrastructure for the transactions that relate to mobility in cities. That led to the organization's some courage within the organization to advance new ideas, bigger, bolder ideas that were beyond the original focus of urban ecology. The organization currently operates as a platform for about 100 major projects. At any given time, there are about 100 different projects operating within the organization through partnerships and through an array of staff at the Brick Works and across the country. The obvious one that many people know about is our focus on climate change and adaptation and resilience. We flood down at the Brick Works. Some of you might know that, but when we do flood, it becomes a really strong point on how important transforming our cities in relation to climate change is. So we're in the process of launching a climate change strategy around adaptation. We're leading some work right now across the country looking at civic commons, which is public space, and how we can think about our public space differently. We're leading an initiative in the city of Hamilton looking at transforming the downtown core and the waterfront and reinventing that city, removing the stigma that city lives with and trying to find a way for it to reinvent itself and become a city of young, innovative thinkers. We're leading an initiative right now with others looking at laneways in Toronto, laneway housing in particular, and how we might transform laneways, which are these forgotten landscapes behind. There are 2,800 laneways in Toronto that are essentially the back alleys of many houses in the city. How do we transform these areas into innovation corridors where young people can experiment with architecture, can experiment with new ideas, where microenterprise can be created in garages, where housing can be created for children and grandparents. We're taking an historical program of Evergreens focused on schools called Learning Grounds, where we've worked with over 6,000 schools across Canada, and we're beginning to explore how we can take that existing platform of school and transform it into a network of innovation hubs, using schools, the 16,000 schools in Canada, as innovation hubs in their communities, where that school becomes not just a place for kids to go and learn, but where a place where students, children can actually interact with their communities and bring new ideas out into the larger community around them. Some of you might know about our work in the Lower Don and how we've been advancing a strategy to revitalize Toronto's ravines and how we can turn the Lower Don into Toronto's largest park, which really simply recognizes the fact that we have this incredible ravine landscape that we've forgotten, and we need to reinvent them and connect the asset to the entire city so we can use it as our commons, as the city's commons. The big learning for me along the way in this work, because it's been an incredibly dynamic ride as an entrepreneur, as a social innovator, to have so many projects and so many different ideas constantly flowing through an organization, is that it's really fundamentally very messy. It's complicated, it's emergent, it changes, it requires people to be comfortable with ambiguity and chaos. It requires a certain person inside the organization. Evergreen now is about 170 staff. And the culture inside the organization is one where the staff enjoy, generally speaking, not all of them do, the chaos that people like me bring in on a daily basis. We certainly have a group of people who enjoy the creative process, the creative energies that are built through working across sectors with academics, with municipal governments, with industry, and the mashup of all those different ideas creates the excitement that gets them up in the day to come down into the valley. And for me, it's been an incredibly rich career of 25 years. I wouldn't have done anything different looking back. Somebody asked me today in a funny little interview, is there any big mistakes you've made with your career? And it's like, not a single one. I mean, I've loved every single minute of it. It's been incredibly rewarding. And I guess one of my points in that is simply that this area of social innovation can be a career. It can be an incredibly rewarding career. And I encourage all of you who haven't explored this space to let your children know or adventure into it yourself. Thank you very much.